We are talking about Memphis in May, Beale Street Music Festival in the record books, and by all accounts, everyone had a great time. We are joined now to talk a little bit more in depth about Memphis in May, the Beale Street Music Festival, and the other events that are happening in the month-long celebration of Memphis with George Abbott. He is Director of External Affairs with the Memphis River Parks Partnership. George, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. It's great to be with you.
So good to be with you. So tell me some of the feedback that you've received from the weekend.
Well, it's so good to see people enjoying the new Tomley Park. It was, of course, awesome to see no rain this weekend. That was fantastic, but great to see people in the new park, experiencing the new park, seeing some of the plantings. Of course, everyone who was at the festival was really there for the festival. They didn't experience some of the key park features, the playground and other pieces of the park that will open later in September. So I can't wait for everybody to come back and celebrate again there.
So let me ask you a couple things. We saw a release from the Memphis River Parks Partnership that talked about some load-in challenges that resulted in some major damages over the weekend. Can you explain what that was?
Well, with any event in a new venue, especially a vulnerable venue that's still in construction like Tomley Park, you have the risk for damages. We know that there has been some damage. We expected there to be some damage, but we won't be able to make a full assessment until everything's moved out of there and we can really get in and assess what's happened in the park. But I would say that, it felt to me like attendees were really respecting the park very well. Of course, it's the first time using this footprint. So, everyone takes a little bit of time to get familiar with it. But I think as well as everything went as well as can be expected.
Yeah, it was great to be back there. First time since 2019. Did you say where the damage was? I didn't catch that.
Well, I don't really want to go into specific damages that have been caused, especially before we have the chance to get really into the park and do a full assessment. We do have our staff, kind of walking around making a visual assessment every day and just monitoring the activity that's happening down there. But again, I think it's just great to see, festival goers enjoying the new surroundings.
I agree. Some questions came up from over the weekend, George. I was wondering if you could help answer some of them. It was a much smaller space for crowds. So with all the improvements, with all the renovations, they were much smaller spaces for crowds. And I had some people that were wondering, is this the kind of festival we're going to see in years to come? Smaller space, smaller areas for people to be around, and just wondering what it's going to look like for the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest. Are those big giant trailers and all those teams, are they going to be able to fit in those smaller areas? Because there's without a doubt a smaller space for barbecue teams all over the park. I mean, are we talking about a smaller festival overall, a smaller Memphis in May, or events?
Well, I certainly hope not. I mean, the park was designed to specific dimensions that Memphis in May provided. And so those dimensions are built into the park, including the amount of square footage that you have for lawn areas, including the amount of square footage that you have for barbecue fest trailers to set up in. And in my experience, I was down at the festival a couple of days. It felt like there was more capacity, there was more space, or there was enough space, certainly, for the people who were there. So I don't really want to speak to, questions about specific ways that the festival will get set up are more appropriate for Memphis in May. But I can say that the park was designed to the specifications that Memphis in May asked for, and they're built into the park.
Okay, because I remember that there was a lot of back and forth between Memphis in May organizers and the Memphis River Parks Partnership. And, you know, I don't want to get into that because I know that there was mediation there and there were some concerns about the reduction of space. And having been in the park, which looks great, by the way, George, it just, I mean, it's hard to not recognize, or at least recognize the fact that the amount of space, area, square footage, if you will, of people roaming around and stuff was drastically reduced. Just because you have a playground over here or some other areas fenced in over there, it's just a smaller space. And so when it comes to Barbecue Fest and when it comes to Music Fest in years to come, I mean, are you guys just expecting a smaller type venue in the years to come, not that Memphians are used to and accustomed to over the last, 30, 40 years that Memphis in May has been around?
Well, adding the park, previously there was nothing in the park, right? So adding anything takes away from the open space that was there before. But it makes it a much, much nicer place to be outside of festival time. Now you're going to have a beautiful experience with a playground and the sports courts, restrooms, food and drink pavilions, gardens, plantings, trees. I saw a lot of people this weekend who were really grateful of the fact that there were now trees and shade. It was surprisingly warm this weekend. Particularly the canopy in the center of the park was really a great shade feature as well. But again, the park has really been designed to accommodate major events, and we built in specific spaces to host those events. As to the details of the setup or artists, things like that, that's a question better for the festival organizers. But all we can do is listen to what they told us that they wanted and then build that into the design plans. So it's great to see so many people kind of experiencing the park, getting their first look. And I'm looking forward to everybody coming back for the public opening.
Absolutely. I want to hit on something else that not many people are talking about, although I've been getting several messages, George, with regards to the annual maintenance cost of this park. So Tomley Park was very low maintenance before all the renovations, and there's a lot of maintenance now. It's much more of a high maintenance cost for maintaining Tomley Park now. Has there been any discussion on what it's going to take to maintain everything at Tomley Park, and who's going to pay for that? Is that going to be Memphis River Parks Partnership, City of Memphis? How is that all going to break down?
Absolutely. So maintenance is crucial to any development of public space. And one way that you ensure that you're able to maintain what you build is really by involving the maintenance staff from the very first part of the design process. So our operations team was part of the design. We've built up the skills on our team to be able to take care of what's built into the park, and we've really thought that through in advance. So we've worked with a couple of consultants. We're keeping the landscaping company that installed all of the plants, all of the trees. They will be on contract for the first year of park operations to assist our staff while they build the muscle to be able to maintain that effectively. There is an increased cost. It's about a 20% increase on the previous cost for the park. We receive an annual maintenance allocation from the City of Memphis, and then we augment that maintenance allocation with earned revenue from things like event rental fees, from boat dockings, and any other revenue streams that we're able to access. So while there will be an increased cost, we're confident that our staff has the skills they need to maintain this. We believe that we have built a revenue plan that can support the park operations, and looking forward to this really being Memphis's signature park and one of the best parks on the river for many years to come.
So glad the weather was nice at Beale Street Music Fest this weekend, and really hoping that the weather is nice for the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest. There were some people who asked me and told me that they're concerned about the viability of Memphis in May because they're concerned the festival is going to lose money this year due to the reduced crowds, due to the reduced amount of people, vendors, organizers, barbecue fest teams, that sort of thing. Do you think that the overall Memphis in May product is going to lose money this year because of the reduced capacity at Tom Lee Park?
Well, I don't really think that's a question that I can answer. Memphis River Parks Partnership, we operate Tom Lee Park. And Memphis in May, of course, uses Tom Lee Park for two of its events. But Memphis in May is more than Beale Street Music Festival and the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest. All that we can do at the partnership is provide the spaces that the festival needs. We have very detailed specifications that Memphis in May said that they needed. We built those into the park. As for what happens after that, that's up to the festival organizers. So I think you would need to, I don't want to comment on their operation specifically.
Listen, I appreciate you asking the tough questions, George. You're a gentleman about this all. Anything else before we let you go?
No, well, I just want to point out that today is a very important day. Today is actually Tom Lee Day. So it was 98 years ago today that Tom Lee rescued 32 people out of the Mississippi River. As soon as I get off the phone with you, I'm heading to our Tom Lee Day celebration, where we'll have the descendants of Tom Lee and the winners of the Tom Lee Poetry Contest. So a great day in Memphis. Good. Glad that the sun is still shining, and I appreciate it.
I meant to say I appreciate you answering the tough questions there that I asked, and I appreciate you remembering Tom Lee Park Day, reminding us about that today. So listen, George, take care of yourself. Appreciate you joining us on the digital desk.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.